I didn't plan a slate of shows for today. I mean, after all, it's, if you want to call it anything, we call it Indigenous Day. Um, Not necessarily a happy one. They don't celebrate that here, of course. The murdering and theft of land of Native Americans is uniquely American in this respect. Um, so they've been doing Christmas, and they've had situations where they've been playing like Christmas music, and you're like, nobody speaks English, even though I'm in the supermarket, and they're playing Christmas music and they're singing it in English. But that said, ever vigilant, been paying attention to what has been taking place back home in the United States. And Nancy Pelosi. Apparently, I've been now told that Nancy Pelosi is progressive. I keep seeing it from standpoint of lefties selling this woman as a progressive. I mean, they've even attacked the other people who are running against her as the 5 white guys. Fair enough. I guess there are five of them, and I guess they're white. But it's a different question on whether or not Nancy Pelosi is progressive, right? I mean, this is a magnificent thing. This progressive is pushing a rule, PAYGO, but also is pushing a rule that's somewhat insidious. This not raising taxes on the bottom 80%. Now, the catch is, there are all sorts of things that avail people's income. Meaning, if you have to pay an additional amount for gas, if you have to pay an additional amount for healthcare, if you have to pay an additional amount for education, those things, particularly if your salary hasn't gone anywhere, are taxes on your salary. And there are ways, particularly from the standpoint of community action, of us, governmental action, that can make that burden in some of those respects less, even though there may be a tax that's imposed in order to do that, in order to pay for making that burden less. So the amount of money that people pay for healthcare, for example, the Medicare for All bill would get rid of this point of sale stuff, meaning the copays and everything else that people are getting hit with when they go to use healthcare, or for that matter, the amount that they have to pay in order to use healthcare, meaning the thousands of dollars per year. It eliminates that at point of sale, but deals with that from the standpoint of a tax in order to pay for it or cover the program. Now, technically, yes, a tax has been imposed, but from the standpoint of what people pay out, they pay out less, meaning the tax makes it less to operate in terms of real terms of the amount of money that the individual saves. Well, the program that Nancy Pelosi is putting through, or potentially is going to put through, or trying to, the policy anyway, would create a situation that make that impossible. That says that you can't raise the tax on 80%, on the bottom 80%. That sounds great, but maybe the tax is necessary in order to pay for a program that lowers the amount of money that they end up paying overall. Now, you had all of these lefties all across the country run on this thing of Medicare for All, and let alone the green energy new deal and all this other stuff. How are you going to pay for this stuff? And the person who is now being supported is putting through programs to completely decapitate the thing that you ran on all throughout the country. But we're told Nancy Pelosi is now progressive. Look at this. This isn't me just making it up right here. Where is it? Right here. Progressives back Pelosi for speaker in return for more power. Okay. So, right here. The Washington State Democrat then phoned Move On and Indivisible with the news that she promptly tweeted out support for Nancy Pelosi. Then, on Friday morning, uncommitted on whom she would back for the speaker, gave Pelosi a full-throated endorsement. No one can really doubt Pelosi's progressive chops, Jayapal told Politico in an interview. That's amazing. Think about what's being said here. Nancy Pelosi is not on board for Medicare for All. Nancy Pelosi is not on board for education, meaning paying for education, nor she is on board for expanding Social Security. She's not on board for any of this stuff. All of this stuff is in line with what the American public wants, seeing as they are on board by more than half for all of it. Pelosi is not. Now, we're being told that the person who's not on board for the stuff is all of a sudden, a progressive. The amount of times that word was used in that political piece is nauseating. It's as if an individual can just stand there without saying a word and without doing a thing and be a progressive, almost as if it's a noun, where the actions and the things that they support don't matter. In this case, this is what we have. We have Nancy Pelosi supporting a policy that will completely decapitate the idea of passing Medicare for all. This week, Minority Leader Pelosi unveiled a list of new procedural rules that her caucus intends to implement when the new Congress is seated. Most of these measures are unobjectionable good government reforms, but one of them would create new and all but insurmountable obstacle to the passage of many of the policies the Democratic Party claims to support. The rule proposed by Pelosi and Massachusetts Representative Richard Neal will require a 3/5 supermajority to raise individual income tax rates on the lowest earning 80% of earners. Again, it sounds great, but this is just a Republican rule that they've rejiggered that is now going to be used to essentially constrain the lefties that are coming into office. Let's be very clear on what this is. The whole point of this rule is to constrain what the lefties can try to push through or what they can get accomplished. This is the Democratic way of trying to put the brakes on any notion of green energy New Deal or Medicare for all or any of these programs. That's what's taking place. We want to deal with the amelioration of the working class. We want to deal with the disposable, or you can say the income that people have, but we also want to make the burdens of their life less. And then, this idea of a person being hit with $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in college loan debt, it should be a benefit for the society to make sure people in the society get an education. We should be joyous at the number of people that graduate from our schools, not put them in this situation of an exploitative relationship. Same thing with healthcare. We can make those things easier and less. But it may require a tax to do it. I guess I'm making a point that this decision of not raising income taxes, while sounding great, puts a constraint on what people can do once they get in those offices or what they want to attempt to do, particularly with regards to progressive legislation. This proposal, in effect, a progressive revision of the existing House rule under Paul Ryan's leadership. The current Republican majority established a supermajority requirement to raise income taxes on anyone. Thus, Pelosi's decision to retain the rule, the supermajority threshold on tax hikes, but restricts it to the bottom 80%, might look commendable at first glance. Why did you keep it at all? I mean, ultimately, you have a Republican Party. That Republican Party screamed at the top of their lungs that they cared so much about the debt while raising the debt $9 trillion when Donald Trump takes office. I mean, come on, let's be honest. This is nonsense. Why are you using rules that the Republican Party used? These guys were completely delegitimized just in the very pursuit of the thing that they said in one moment and then doing the opposite in the next. Why are you maintaining this rule? I made the point that they retained the rule because they wanted to put a constraint on what lefties can do in that office. That's the point. Let's keep going right here. In addition to forbidding tax increases on the bottom 80%, Pelosi has vowed to honor the pay-as-you-go rule, which requires the House to fully finance all new government spending. Taken together, these two requirements can make Medicare for all impossible to pass out the House. It is true that the supermajority rule is specifically worded to bar increases in individual income taxes as opposed to payroll taxes, the primary funding mechanism for Bernie Sanders' single-payer health care bill. But it seems unlikely that the distinction will be honored in practice. As a political matter, it will be difficult to insist that the rule title "Protect the Middle Class from Tax Increases" does not apply to payroll tax hikes, given that such hikes increase taxes on the middle class. You've instituted a rule to hobble what a large share of the people who got into Congress got elected on. But hey, no one can really doubt Pelosi's progressive chops. Jacob Poole told Politico in an interview. God, I love that. I love that. These pieces were taken only a few days apart. It's not that far, maybe less than 2 weeks. And in one moment, they sell themselves in order to get additional influence in the political space. Hey, I get it. You're in a different political space to which I work. So fair enough. But don't lie in such a way. Don't say that the woman who's pushing pay as you go and who's against all of the things that you say you believe in is somehow no one doubts her progressive chops. It's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. If you need to support Pelosi for political reasons, fair enough. But this gaslighting nonsense, trying to use this term progressive and then attach it to Pelosi, it's gag-worthy. It's completely gag-worthy. Let's see. Oh, wow, we have people here. And I can't see it, so let's try to flip this. There we go. She hasn't got elected yet, but I'm assuming she will. But the support for her is gross. So one of my subscribers sent me a video of Thom Hartmann. And Thom Hartmann, again, is out there shilling for her also. Jamarl Thomas, where are you? Missed the beginning. Lisa Hauserman. I am in Czech Republic. I think it's called Karno in Czech Republic. It's a little town. It's like in the middle of nowhere. He's talking down about Tom. I'm not talking down about Tom, but Thom Hartmann, man, Jesus fucking Christ. It's almost as if a script is sent out to the various networks and the various people in political space that do political dialogue. And they take the script and they just read it like robots. And they cut it for their particular their particular show or whatever else. That's what it feels like. That's what it comes across as. I'm just saying, your solution here is not going to come through the political apparatus in the way that the political apparatus is going to currently arranged. It is going to take people being pissed off, sitting back and saying, all right, Ocasio-Cortez got it. It's not going to cut it. I'm sorry, it is not going to cut it. Jamal is on his way to Moscow. John Hill, I'm not on my way to Moscow. Happy Thanksgiving to you and a missus. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you too. Bold like a leopard. This is why Jimmy Dore is right. They are actively sabotaging progressive movement. Sorry, Cal, reality bites. They are literally sabotaging the progressive movement. The whole pay-as-you-go thing is a way of sabotaging that. Hey, you have to fund all of this stuff as you go along. The Republican Party didn't do that. They raised the debt limit by $9 trillion on a whim when they wanted to pass their tax cuts in order to give more money to those millionaires and billionaires. Oh, they did it on a whim. They did it on a whim. They didn't care. You're talking about funding a $719 billion military budget. And you make the case and say, well, hey, people should have health care. Whoa. We need to talk about how we're going to pay for this as we go along. Not to mention let's get a supermajority to try to raise an income tax rate. As if the income tax rate was the only thing that people, that was the main thing, that was the oppressive point on how people live their lives. You could pay a tax on healthcare in order to pay for healthcare and still end up paying less money than what you would typically pay, especially if you don't have to pay with co-pays and you don't have to pay this kind of monthly or yearly amount. We pay an absurd amount for healthcare. When I went on my wife's healthcare plan, and I just paid her healthcare insurance rate spiked. Now, it's only because she worked at a hospital where her rates were low in the first place, and ended up just us paying a regular rate like anybody else will pay. at that point, the moment that I joined their plan. Those rates are insane. And this is supposed to be Obamacare, where this was supposed to be worked out. This utopian idea that you can allow these healthcare companies to get their profits and make those profits on the backs of the American. And somehow, both parties are going to work out great in that situation. You have cancer, pay me. You have cancer, pay me. This is the exploitive relationship that was maintained. I don't know why anybody will keep this relationship. And countries abroad don't have this particular issue. We pay twice as much as every other country around the world pays for healthcare. And we don't get the best effect. I think we're rated 37 in regards to healthcare. Yeah, that needs to change. It needs to change. And if these guys aren't on board for it, they need to be dragged out of office. Project